All right. Hi, my name is Kira Leeper, and I just wanted to give you some tips about job hunting whether you are or aren't pursuing a degree that might not have a straightforward path. My husband is an electrical engineer, and electrical engineers get jobs in electrical engineering. It's really straightforward. Certain companies hire them, and they do an internship, and the trajectory is just really simple. I have a music performance degree, and while there are some traditional career paths for that, it's not quite as marked out. And so, over the past decade, I have been building a career, and it's a creative endeavor I actually really enjoy. Picked up a few skills along the way. I've hired people into organizations, and so nothing I say can be taken as complete gospel truth. I'll give you some tips for figuring out if what I'm saying is a good idea for you or not, but just going to share a little bit of what I know. So the first thing I'm a huge proponent of is how useful LinkedIn to you. LinkedIn is to you. I don't pay for the premium subscription. You can get it for free for a couple months, but I actually do think it's worth it if you are job hunting. But let me show you a few things I use LinkedIn for. So let's say that I know I want to work as a child life specialist, but I'm applying for jobs and I'm just really not having any luck. There's a few things I can do. So if I type in child life specialist into my browser, you can see up here that I've got all sorts of options. I can look at people who this keyword is showing up, jobs that are posted, companies, school courses, all these things. A really great way to find out what specific skills you're going to need if you want to be a child life specialist is to look at job postings at the job listings. There's likely going to be some similarities job to job, company to company, and you can kind of start proctoring this list of common skills companies are looking for when they're hiring child life specialists, and then evaluate if your experience and education are helping you meet those skills, or if there's some work you need to do to be a better fit. Another thing I really love doing, because I'm a huge proponent that your network makes all the difference, but networking can be little daunting. And in 2022, networking is not really anymore showing up to conferences and meetings and getting to know people. That's still a really great idea, and I absolutely recommend you find conferences and organizations to join to do that, but you can do this at home on your couch. So I typed in child life specialist, job I'm interested in. If I click people, which it looks like it had people at the top here, there are 20,000 people whose resume references a job life specialist. So if I just choose one and I click on her name is Madison. Just from looking at her profile, I can see a few things. I can see experience she has, other jobs. Sometimes they put details, kinds of companies they worked at before they had this job title. Can also see their education. This can be really useful because if you keep going back and forth and looking at lots of profiles without even talking to anyone, sometimes you can kind of gather a list. Like, everyone who has the job I want is getting a master's degree in social work. I don't know what it would be, but you can kind of find some commonalities, and again, look reflectively at yourself and like, okay, should I be considering a master's degree? The other thing I would highly recommend you do is find some key people whose interests, experience, or where they're at particularly is interesting to you, and try to reach out to them to ask them some questions. So if you don't have premium free, you can't message them. When you click it, it's going to try to get you to sign up for premium. But there's a little workaround that'll limit how many times you can do this. It's a lot though, so you'll be able to get away with a few. If you click connect, you can add a note. So you only have 300 characters. Come up with something really concise of saying who you are, you're interested in child life. Would they have a moment to answer some questions via email or on the phone? You can come up with the options you're comfortable with and then send it. When I do this a lot, when I'm looking for something new or doing other things, maybe I send 10 to 15 of these notes and I hear back from 3 people, maybe 5 if it's a really great day. But definitely send a lot of notes, because not everyone is going to have time. Not everyone's going to see it. I don't personally get on LinkedIn every day, so I might not see it for a couple of weeks. So don't sell yourself short. Give yourself lots of opportunities, and be really inviting. Try to make it about what you want to learn from them, not like, I need help, come help me. Because, we're all human. We like to talk about ourselves. In my experience, too, people are really happy to help mentor someone who's interested in something that they are typically very passionate about. So you can do some good list building, research building just from looking at profiles. Then you can also try to connect with people with the actual job you have and ask them questions. So things I would ask is about their experience. How do they feel they got the job they want? What made them most qualified? If they were me with the experience I have, and they were hiring, where are my weak spots? What do I need to be developing? Do they feel, and this is a point where if you can establish some people in your industry at specific jobs you want as people you have contact with, whether through a LinkedIn message chat or email or phone, or maybe you go out to lunch, maybe you go and shadow them at their job. That would be amazing. I've had people do that to me, and I have done that, and it is so useful. You can learn a lot, and those can be people to bounce ideas off of that are going to be more specific to your interests than I could offer you. Not being in this specific field or this specific job that maybe isn't even a good fit for you. The other thing you can do with LinkedIn, in addition to finding people and finding resumes, like I mentioned before, you can look at job descriptions, but you can also search by your degree. So let's say you're getting a degree, but you actually have no idea what kind of job you want. So I just removed a filter that I have on here. I'm going to type in, what do I want to type in? Let me get an example from one of these so that I'm not just doing something that's different. Okay, so this person has a Bachelor's of Arts in Elementary Education. So let's type that in. Bachelor's of Arts, Elementary Education. So if I type this in as a generic keyword and I don't have any filters on, it's going to start pulling people up who have this degree. And the reason they'll do that is it's just searching for some keywords. So if you scroll down here, one thing when you search by degree to keep in mind is you might just find a lot of students who are studying that. So you kind of have to dig a little bit more. Let's see if we can tell if there's somebody who might not be a student anymore. Let's check out. Oh, sometimes you won't be able to look at people's profile. I actually really don't know what determines that versus not. It's another thing about premium. It comes with all sorts of extra features that you might not get otherwise. Anyways, okay, that's not gonna work. This is unusual. Usually there's not this many people that are LinkedIn members that you can't see. Okay, so here's Ingrid. She's an alumni. She's got this degree. So you can see with the degree what she's done. She's been a writing consultant. She's been a cashier. She's been a speech coach. So anyways, you can also try to message people like this and be like, hey, how did the degree you get help you get here? When I was kind of practicing this technique and I searched my degree, which is music performance, one of the first people who popped up is currently a model for a company. So the degree you get doesn't even always fully determine the job you get. And so if you're really in an exploratory state, try searching keywords around your degree or courses you've taken, you've been interested in, and just try to figure out what people are doing who like what you like. Let's say you know that there's a company you really want to work for. They're a nonprofit and you just have like the most, you just want to be a part of what they're doing. You can search in LinkedIn for a specific company. Of course, let's see, company. Of course, you can also go to a company's website. You can learn a lot of things about them. I'm actually not seeing the specific company I was looking for, so we're just going to go with the first one here. If you click on the company's name, it will tell you how many employees they have. And let's see, like how big is this company, some kind of facts about them. 2 to 10 employees, very small, when they're founded, this kind of stuff. And then you can click and see who their people are on LinkedIn, what they're doing at this company, and what their experience is. Maybe you find that everyone who's working at the company you want did Teach for America. Maybe you find that everyone who's working at the company you want has a bachelor's degree in some specific thing or is part of some association or something. Just because you find these commonalities doesn't mean you need to go out and do it, but that might pique your interest. You might kind of try to talk to people, the organization, like what is it about having done Teach for America that is making them a good fit for this company? And is there something you've done that similarly poises you as a good fit? Or maybe do you have some work to do, somewhere to volunteer or something to build up a resume like that? Speaking of resumes, I'll go to mine. This is something you're going to want to ask people specific to your industry. I can only tell you what is useful to me. So on my LinkedIn, I actually keep it pretty expansive, like almost everything I've ever done, even if it's not incredibly related to whatever I'm doing right now. And then because I want to show up in all those key searches when like a recruiter or someone is looking for people. So I use LinkedIn as kind of my like everything is here. That's not how everyone uses it. So again, ask some questions. When I write a resume though, I absolutely do not do that. I look at the job description and I tailor my resume to it. This takes a lot of time. But if you're applying for a job and a huge component of it is grant writing, but you have never been a grant writer, you have to figure out if you're qualified for it, and if so, how you're going to prove that on paper. So, for instance, I had never been a grant writer. And so what I did is I went out to seek some opportunities to learn about grant writing. I found out that you could sign up to be a grant review panelist. So I joined, it was completely free. I joined the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs. I became a grant review panelist. Every 6 months I went to the state capitol, they debriefed me, we got all this training, and I got to read and review grants. So I became so understanding of what the grant review process was like for nonprofits in my state because I was literally reviewing them. You can take classes at libraries to learn about grants. Obviously, that's something that took me a long time to build, but in the meantime, I have a lot of other writing experience, both from school and other things that I've done. So in those early job applications, when I really didn't know anything about grants yet, but I knew I was a good writer and I could learn, what I would do is I would explicitly highlight writing skills in my resume, and then in the cover letter, I would say something like, my writing experience from this, and this really helped shape blah, blah, blah. I'd talk about my writing skills and I'd say, I'm excited to bring this to the grant writing efforts of enter whatever. So I'm not saying like, I don't know how to write a grant, but I write, I'm good enough. But I'm kind of trying to sell to them my skill of writing and my ability to be flexible and jump in and help the mission that they have. So use that cover letter to connect the dots between the experience you have and what they're looking for, especially if the experience you have doesn't seem like it might be relevant. Like maybe your job at Target, you have some leadership position that actually does give you some of the skills that you need, but that's not readily apparent when they see Target, shift leader on your resume. So you have to make it easy for them. You want them when they read their cover letter and your resume to be like, this is really interesting. I want to talk to this person. I want to learn about how this is a good fit. The other thing to keep in mind, all companies have values or a mission statement if they're a nonprofit or a school. It's a really good idea to do your research on the company you're applying for, figure out what their mission statement is, and in your cover letter, articulate how you are well-suited to work towards their mission, passionate about their mission, like awareness of what the company is about will go a really long way when people are reading cover letters. Don't copy and paste the mission statement out. Maybe try to find a couple keywords and work them in naturally to the generic part that you're writing. But I think overall, it's a little bit of effort, but try to see it as a creative endeavor. I also want to normalize not getting a dream job out of college. I landed in a job that I considered a dream job 2.5 years after, well, that's not true. 3.5 years after I got out of college. And I had jobs prior to that job that I liked, but were kind of stepping stone positions. And, but right out the gate, I worked at a daycare for minimum wage. And as embarrassed as I was about that at the time, it really laid some groundwork for me that was important. It helped me meet the financial needs I had as a graduate while doing some more volunteer work, while taking an unpaid internship, while, driving once a couple of months to go do grant review panels and having to miss work. So sometimes you might take what looks like a step in the wrong direction, but it can be the key that gives you the support you need to be building other things. I also wanted to point out that the Ann Arbor Symphony, this is the job I really wanted. I started as an unpaid intern in 2014. After that internship ended, they weren't hiring, but I stayed on as a volunteer. Once a month, I'd go and just do whatever they needed help with. Everybody in the organization knew me. I kept my face really fresh. All the time, I'm making money by doing other freelance pursuits and working at this daycare. Well, this production coordinator job became available, and I knew from the people I talked to at the company that they liked to hire people they knew. You had to be qualified. It wasn't like a handout of some kind. But especially small nonprofits, work like the culture is really important, mission is really important, and so I applied for the job. Even though I had no interest in being a production coordinator, I did have the skill set and I got the job. The boss knew me, knew my work ethic, and I had a lot of connections and with the people I would need to be working with, so they thought I would be a good fit, and it worked out great. I did really enjoy that job, but it was not what I was interested in, particularly on paper. I did that for 2 years when one of the jobs I was interested in, working in the education department, became available. They created a new position, and I applied for it and got it. They actually reached out to me about applying for it because they knew I'd be a good fit. And ultimately, I kind of worked my way up to being the director of the department. And so I would also say, don't be afraid to be a volunteer somewhere you're passionate about. Even if you're not getting paid, that experience is future payment. Don't be afraid to get a job adjacent to a job you really want, because maybe bouncing through the company is going to offer you more success than cold interviewing for jobs at which you know no one at the company. This is another thing it'd be really good to ask anyone you talk to about. Like, does the industry and the kinds of companies you're looking to work at work like this, where, knowing people and being around with the right skill set is what's important? Or is it pretty common to just, fire off a job application and get the job? So that would be all of the advice I have. LinkedIn can be a really creative tool for you to do some research, and you can do it from the comfort of your couch. You can end up shadowing people, going to get coffee with people. I've done a little bit of all of it. I have found that if I offer to send them questions over email and something in person, that can kind of help me get a response, because someone's usually willing to say yes to an email if they're a really busy person. But if they have the free time, I do like going and shadowing people. But it'll also open up the potential for you to talk to people who don't live close to you. And the phone and, of course, like Zoom video chat makes that even more possible. So best of luck. Enjoyed creating the career that you wanted, and try to use everything as a stepping stone towards the next thing, even if it's not quite at the goal you want yet.